Okay.
Oh yeah.
Let's wrap our knees
No,
together.
I feel like I should like intertwine my legs with yours or something here. Yeah. Speaking of intertwining legs, I was tubing with my friend Amanda on the weekend on Merrill Lake in BC, and we were on the tube, and you know how when the guys, of course, started trying to kill us, basically, like they were trying to end our lives for sure. It was scary. So when we're going around, like, because it's like a flat kind of a tube, right? Not like those old school ones where you're definitely falling off. Like this one, if you shift right, you have a chance of staying on. So we're both on the tube, and I was on this side and she was on that side. And then when they would whip us this way, when they would whip us this way, we didn't want to be on this side of the tube because we would definitely die then. So I literally like grabbed onto her and like wrapped my legs around her, and she was like, "Get off of me!" And I'm like, "This is our only survival chance, like for sure." But then a couple times I couldn't find anywhere to grab, so I just had a hold of her, and she couldn't even hold on because she had to hold her body weight and me.
Yeah.
And she's like littler than me. Oh my gosh, it was so funny.
Littler?
I might attach those videos actually to the end of this on YouTube, because we do have a couple like major flips. At one point, she was like, "They're trying to kill us. I'm letting go." And then she just let go and she flew off, and I was on the tube by myself. And of course, then it flipped over because it was all the weight on my side, right?
Well,
man. And they're chiropractors. So then later that night, we were sitting by the fire.
No way.
And we got our necks all fixed up. I was like,
perfect.
Best
I like your
day
friends.
of tubing ever.
Yeah.
I know. I have nice friends like this one right here. I guess I could introduce you, hey?
That's new.
Yeah. Well, thanks everybody for tuning in to episode 4 of the Lyndsie live show. I'm here with the lovely Yvonne in her beautiful yard. And I really thank you for being available to do this. I had another guest lined up, not nearly as hot as this one, but still, he was a nice guy. And he kind of had something else come up and he couldn't do it. So this worked out well because you were planning on having a chat for your podcast. Tell them a little bit about your podcast. I want to make sure that people know about it.
The Freedom Seeker podcast is also 4 episodes in now, so we're very much on the same line there. Is all about what freedom means to you, and it involves a lot of different aspects in life. You know, freedom in its fundamental ways could be, you know, the physical. Yeah. But as I've been experiencing, there's a lot of emotional pieces that I'm breaking away from, and in my podcast as well as my blog, I'm sharing my breakaways from the traps that my mind plays with me, and I share those because I believe, like you, that sharing is caring, and we need to just let the world know what can set us free, and what worked for me, and that's what my podcast is all about.
Yeah, Yvonne has a really cool story about how she sort of broke away from the corporate world and has really begun living her dream in the last little while here. So it's been exciting to watch her finally put 2 feet into, you know, freedom. Let's do this. No more dipping the toe in every once in a while. Like, we're in the pond of freedom now.
That's so true. So
it's pretty cool.
Yeah. So
I feel like you need to be closer to me. Come this way. There we go. All right. Okay, now we're going to have a talk. Why am I so much taller than you?
Well, so this is the other thing. You're supposed to sit back more, and I'm supposed to sit forward, and that way it equals out.
The height thing?
Mm-hmm.
I am taller than you, obviously.
Yeah. So that's why I feel like a giant. That's why I was
sitting
sitting at the edge of glory over here.
I don't know, but see, now your head looks too big. Come back here. You can be little. Here, sit on a cushion. This is what I make my kid do when I cut his hair. Sit up.
Sit on a cushion.
Look, watch.
Look! Woo! Woo! And here we go. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I need a booster seat.
Yeah,
how about that?
She's sitting on a cushion and I'm not, and we're the same height. Okay, so episode 4 of the Lyndsie Live Show. As everyone knows, these episodes are to help you achieve money success. They're meant to share with you some tips and tricks and ideas around how to get the most out of your money and how to basically just have a good relationship with money, not feel like money is the enemy, money is a problem, money is a source of negativity. It's meant to put you in touch with the good side of money, because there is a really good side of money. So today's topic is cheap versus frugal. So we're going to dive right into this with a funny little story about my friends and I. I play a little bit of rugby and touch rugby, and a lot of the girls are like younger than me. They're in their 20s, and they all know what I do for a living, and they also know that I'm an avid thrift shopper. So when we hang out and they're wearing like something that maybe they purchased recently, the first thing they do is they announce to me how much they spent on it. Yeah, they tell me the price tag, and I'm like, oh, well, that's great. And usually it's because they're like, I got such a great deal on this. You'd be so proud of me, right? Like, it's usually like my one friend, Hannah, she's like, you'd be so proud of me. I paid $11 for this shirt. Isn't it great? And I'm like, that's awesome, Hannah. Like, she's so cute. But, because they all know that I rarely pay full price for anything. It's just one of those things. I guess 80% probably of my wardrobe is from thrift stores,
which I think is awesome. Like that you get to, and because you always look very classy and put together.
Oh, thank you.
You know, it's not that you look thrifty.
Thank you.
I think it's I was actually surprised when I heard that.
Yeah?
Yeah, I was.
Okay.
I was.
And I mean, people's biggest sort of, I guess, objection to thrift shopping is the time it takes, and I get that. It's just one of those things that I grew up doing. I'm efficient at it. I'm good at it. I freaking love it. I have way too many clothes. Thrift shopping? I was raised garage sailing. I was raised to, you know, get good quality brand name things that have been gently used.
So it's in her blood.
It's literally, it's bred into me. And so I can't get away from it. So I've embraced it. And and so my question to all of you, now that you understand this about me, and that this shirt is actually from a thrift store, does that make me cheap? Does that make me cheap? Or does that make me frugal? What's the difference between cheap and frugal?
I think we need to define what the definition of cheap and frugal, and does it make you cheap? I don't think so. Other people may have a different opinion about it, but I would call it smart. You know, someone said to me once, and that someone is my mom, who is my fashion guru, I guess. Like, she has a phenomenal sense for fashion and style, but she's never been the person to spend hundreds and thousands of dollars on brands per se, but she does buy brands, and she does buy carefully items in her closet that are like, say, top clothing, like, you know, a good suit, for example. If you are a professional and you need to wear suits, she always said, you know, you spend money on the suit, but then what you wear with the suit, the accessories or the shirts and that stuff, you don't need to spend a ton of money on. I think if you in today anyways, most of the thrift stores we have around this area, you can get some amazing deals at a thrift store that, you know, are quality clothes, still in great condition. I think what has changed is just simply the quality that is hanging in thrift stores nowadays versus what may have been even 20 years ago.
Yeah.
So some people may not know that about me either, but I am a huge thrift store, secondhand, exchange clothes person. I do that all the time. It's very rare that I buy brand new stuff, but when I do, it's on items that I'm going to have for a long time, so I invest in them. Yeah, definitely. Right? So I don't think it makes you cheap, but I think that makes a great survey.
Yeah, and so we've had a couple chats come up in the chat box. We've got equal votes that I'm cheap and equal votes that I'm frugal. So let's not talk about me anymore for a minute. Let's talk about you. So I have 3 questions for all of you who are tuned in. Please type your questions into the chat box. So the first question is, when was the last time you bought something and you couldn't believe what a smokin' hot deal you got on it? So tell me about what it was, and you know, basically just how excited you were. And the second question, when was the last time you bought something and quickly realized you overspent or didn't really love the item after all? And the last question, what is your top financial goal? So let's do a little bit of discussion on this. So just to, you know, give you some context sort of behind this, when I am working as a financial consultant and I go into a meeting with a new couple or a new single mom or whatever it may be, and I ask her, you know, what it is that she really wants to achieve when it comes to her money, the top two answers are debt-free other than the mortgage, and X number of dollars saved or an X number of dollars as a net worth. Those are the top two things that I hear. So, you know, I'm seeing things like people buying brand new vehicles and regretting it. That's something that I totally did. I actually wrote about that in my book. I completely disclosed the amount of money that that vehicle ended up costing me. New vehicle is probably the number. I'm actually working with a new couple right now, and I just sort of help them discover how much that vehicle will actually cost them if they continue to pay for it for the next 8 years as the dealership has lined up on their loan. It's disgusting. It's a disgusting amount of money that we end up paying in interest. So that's probably the number one regret of a lot of people, that they buy something and then they're like, man, I could have got, you know, an equally great vehicle, maybe 1 or 2 years old, for like way less than that, right? So Yvonne, when you are out shopping and you see something that is sort of screaming your name, how do you kind of talk yourself off the cliff and make sure that you're comparing that item or that experience to your actual goals?
It's a really great question. It depends on what we're talking about from a price point of view. So if it is a high ticket item, let's say we're going into fall, a new pair of boots. I have been looking for a new pair of boots for 2 years now, and when I look at the price of a good leather pair of boots and consider how often I'm going to be wearing them, I kind of have a budget in mind as to what I do not want to go over, and what I would hope to spend on it for this pair of boots. But also taking reality into consideration that a leather pair of boots is going to cost me more than a synthetic pair, right?
And last longer.
And so what I then do is I go out and I shop around a lot. I try on different pairs, but I typically, for items that cost me over $100, I don't buy them that day. I usually go home, and this is a rule I put in place a long time ago with myself, and I said if I'm spending anything over $100, I need to sleep on it to see if I really still want it or need it. Because of the impulse buying, I have done that, and I have regretted it afterwards. So that's how I go about it. But I usually spend a considerable amount of time shopping online to shop around, to see my options, because I am always looking for that deal, for that price.
Really, helicopter? Like right now? You had to fly right over us? There's a helicopter.
It's okay, we got the good microphone. We can blend that out.
This is going on YouTube.
Raw. We like raw. We also, my eyes are a bit burning, and that's not because the sun is shining right in them, but it's because it's very smoky in Alberta right now, or in Calgary here.
It is very smoky today. Okay, well, thank you for sharing that, Yvonne, and thank you everyone for sharing your worst purchase, the thing that you regret the most.
I can't wait to see that.
Yeah, it's going to be great. So the friend effect. Here's something I want to talk about when it comes to our financial goals and spending on things that may or may not bring us fulfillment. So did you know that if your best friend, like the person that you hang out with the most, gained 20 pounds, you have a 60% chance of gaining weight. This is a fact, and I won't tell you where I heard it. But anyways, so that tells us a lot about how we are influenced by our friends, right? So, at the beginning of 2016, and I have the full story of this in my book. Anyway, spoiler alert. So I said at the beginning of 2016 that I would not set foot in a mall for the whole year. I did sort of break that vow 3 times. One time, 2 of the 3 times I was alone. I wasn't with anyone. And that was when I really paid attention. And this was after reading a book by Michael Matthews called Thinner, Leaner, Stronger. You're listening to the audiobook right now, which is super exciting. We're going to go work out Michael Matthews style after this. Anyways, that's totally besides the point. So basically, the one thing that I noticed is the one time that I had someone with me it was actually my son, And it was interesting to watch the effect of the sounds and the smells and the visual cues to buy, and how they literally turned him into a bit of a crazy person. Like it affected him huge. And I was just kind of trying to rein him in and keep him under control. And I think back to all the times that I have been in malls with friends, and their spending and their passions and their, ooh, this is cute and I want that, completely overtook me. And I'm like that with food and with drinking and all that. Like if I'm with my friends, like what they're doing and what they're into completely affects me. I've gotten better as I get further into my 30s, but it's still a problem. So the friend effect. So, I mean, dopamine is a huge problem when it comes to overspending and not remembering our goals. But what's even worse is the friend effect. So be very careful, everyone.
With who you spend time with.
Yeah. Well, with who you spend time with, but not even that. Like if you want to hang out with a friend, don't go to the mall. Go for a walk. Go to a place where it's literally about spending time together, not spending money together.
There is this saying, and I don't know who said this, but you are the average of your 5 closest friends, right? So if you have aspirations of being a certain character, or you have aspirations in life, that I think that there's so much value to what you just said about the friend effect, because you need to take a close look then. Is my aspiration matching who I hang out with and who I surround myself with, right?
So what I want to know from everyone who's watching and from Yvonne is what is the one thing that you mercilessly spend money on? Like no one could ever say, do not spend so much money on that, you're ridiculous. Like you're going to do it anyways because you love it. It's the one thing that you buy. You never get buyer's remorse. It could be experiences. It could be physical items. It could be $100 things. It could be $10 things. It could be $1,000 things. Like, what is that?
You want to know from me?
Yeah.
Courses.
Courses, yes.
Hands down. I am a course and book junkie.
Okay.
Yeah.
Knowledge.
Yeah.
You just eat it up.
I literally had to rein myself in this year. It's just, yeah, if I hear of a really great course, and I'm kind of regretting saying that online right now because, you know, with Google Analytics and all, they're probably going to, target her. But yeah,
you're going to have 27 new courses in your inbox
I'm a sucker
tomorrow.
for courses, and if I see the value in it,
Yeah, well, I mean, over the years of knowing you, the courses that you've taken, I have benefited from as well, because then she knows all these new things and she tells me them and coaches me on how to do things better because of the courses she's taken. So it's great.
Well, and that's just it. Like, you know, and that's why I probably don't mind spending money on it, is because that's what I do, is I help other people, whether business owners or just human beings, you know, find their ideal life and find their ideal lifestyle, and that requires that I continually find out what that means to me, and I feel we are never done educating ourselves.
Never.
And so the things that are important to me are just to learn exactly what it is that I want to resolve in my life, and then take the course on it. And then I do courses to repay for the courses I took.
Yeah. So I see somebody has typed in the chat, last minute trips to Mexico. Actually, my brother this morning, we were texting, and he just booked a trip to Mexico last night. He's going to see like a bunch of country stars play in Mexico at something. Like, I don't even want to know how much money he spent on that, but that's my brother's thing. He loves to go to Mexico and he loves concerts. He's and he's like me, he's a country music freak. So I hear the last minute vacations thing. I'm definitely turning into a bit of a sucker for that too, because I'm starting to get, I guess, just more freedom to be able to do that. So
you have to balance it out, right? Like I feel, you know, all work and no play, it makes a pretty dull life, and so equating it out a bit, and once you get to a point where you have that little bit of extra and reallocation of money, that's really what it is, right?
Totally.
It's not that your priorities change, and I feel having some fun in there needs to be allocated just as importantly as all the savings and everything else. I loved your line in your book. By the way, I just absolutely love her book. I'm probably the biggest fan.
She's my biggest fan.
So in your book, you talked about this as well. Sorry, I lost my train of thought as I was
We were talking about
about
allocating money to fun and to like.
oh,
you
your
know,
retirement quote in here that people that work. How did it go? People that work to retire are people that don't enjoy what they're doing today. Is that how?
Yeah,
how it
people
went?
whose number one savings goal is retirement hate what they do for a living.
Right.
Basically, like they obviously hate what they do for a living if they're going to their job in order to retire.
Yeah. And
That's not a good
that was a
reason to
huge
go to work
eye
every
opener
day.
for me. Was okay, wow, like yeah, I don't just want to save to retire. I
Mhm.
want to live my life now.
Yeah.
And I'm going through that with my parents right now because, of course, they're getting close, and they really want to make sure that they have enough when they retire. And I understand that. I think that's a huge and valid concern, especially for a set of parents who have gone through two big market dives that we've just experienced here. So, they definitely have a priority right now that is retirement. That said, I said to both of them, I said, you also need to make sure you're still enjoying things that you can physically do right now, because what is
you could be dead in 3 years.
well, or
or a
you
year.
won't be able to do it because you physically cannot do it. And this is just a small example. We went to Arizona, and my mom loves hiking, but physically there will be a time, and it won't be 10 or 20 years from now, but there will be a time in a very short period coming in the future where she may not be able to go on certain hikes anymore. And I think sometimes we just forget that reality, that we are working hard and we're saving and for the light of the end of the tunnel, that when that light comes, that might actually be the wrong kind of light you're looking towards.
Yeah, exactly.
Sorry, that analogy just came up.
That's awesome. Don't look towards the light. Don't do it.
Okay.
You're not ready for that yet. There's like a circular light tunnel right in front of our faces. Don't look at it.
Oh wow, that's
a good
that's
one.
good.
I like how you just stumbled upon that. So what I'm getting at is the difference between cheap and frugal, in my mind, is cheap people just want to spend rock bottom, like they want to pay rock bottom prices all the time for everything. And it is actually uncomfortable for the people that are their friends sometimes, like because the people start to predict that this person is always going to lowball everyone and everything. They're gonna, have a $15 meal and they're gonna put in $16 when they know that tax and tip is gonna come, like those kind of people, right? But frugal people, on the other hand, right, they want to pay rock bottom prices on the things that they don't love, so that they can spend whatever it takes to enjoy the things that
They do
really,
love.
yes, the things that they do love,
Yeah.
the things
I
that bring
love
them
that.
fulfillment. So for me,
And that may be looking different for everybody.
yeah,
right?
exactly. And for you, it's courses. I mean, I definitely enjoy courses as well. But for me, I'm more into the free stuff. Like I love listening to podcasts and all that kind of stuff because there's so much great free information out there.
There is.
I end up usually buying a book, or usually most podcast authors have
Yeah.
books, right? And I love enjoying those podcasts while I'm driving down the road, going back up north to visit friends and family, going out to, Vernon to, chill for a bit in the Okanagan sun, going out to Vancouver Island to see my dad. And I've just in the last couple of years started to do more of that because I discovered that that's what I get the most fulfillment out of. So I don't live in a really nice house. I have a tiny little home. I do, however, have a nice vehicle because I like to
Be on the
drive
road.
and I like to
Yeah.
be able to put my bike in the vehicle, my dog in the vehicle. Like I like to do, basically I'm an adventure and activities person. That's what I love. I like nice clothes, but I can't have nice clothes and everything and all the other things that I want. I mean, let's face it, I'm not a millionaire yet. I need to be careful what I spend my money on. And I think there's a feeling of sort of anxiety that comes with accepting that you can't have everything. But once you push past that and start to get laser focused on what's actually making you happy and channeling your money there and being careful with your spending on everything else, there's this freedom and fulfillment that comes from that. And you were saying earlier that growing up in East Germany was really hard for you because you were raised. Tell everyone kind of how you were raised in that culture.
Well, what I was referring to was in being raised in a socialistic or communist regime. Basically, from very early on, you're taught to think of money as a bad thing, and there's a logic reason behind that, and that is simply that you can rein in a whole society by making them understand that what they have is good enough, and we don't want you to aim for more. That's the whole principle behind socialism. You're supposed to be happy with everyone having the same things and everyone not having lots. Because when you have lots, that means you have to bring in capitalism in order to grow the economy to that kind of caliber. So it made a lot of sense when you look at this belief system from that point of view. However, I've really noticed this huge conflict in my own brain once we moved, the East German Wall fell and we were part of capitalism and the rest of the world. The conflict in my mind around people with money and people who didn't have money, and so being raised always believing that money was a bad thing, or that people that have money are bad or are arrogant, or are
business owners are bad because they want to have more than everyone else.
Exactly. Like, these stupid things. Even we here in a free world have been told, you have to earn it, or you have to work hard to earn, like these money principles.
Trading
that
hours for dollars is
exactly.
Is it.
And so I've worked very hard at repatterning that belief system, because it wasn't serving me, because there was a conflict in my mind around what I was striving for in life, which was a freedom life, which was having the ability to do certain things which cost money, and thinking money was bad. And so I had to really work at that, and it wasn't easy to break those patterns. But awareness is so important and just to go back to your point around what you spend money on and what you may not. I think the key to breaking away from that belief pattern was to really sit down and write out why I wanted what I wanted. And that maybe for me, that looked very different than it did for you. Like, we might be aiming towards the same financial goal, right? But how we're going to spend that money at the end may be very different. And like you said about your place where you live versus the car that you drive, it's an important distinction to make. You don't have to have everything. You just have to have the things that mean something to you, that are important to you. Another example I can give on that is going back to my parents on the retirement stage of things, where mom might want to have a place where she can access easily an art gallery, or a shopping mall or something like that, whereas for dad it may be more important to have land and have a place where he can grow his vegetables. But they need to come onto the same playing field to see what is really important to them. And so what I did is I said to my mom, tell me, how often right now do you go to an art gallery, or to a concert hall, or to a movie, or to a shopping mall? And if her answer to me, which it was, is barely, then why do you think that's going to be different when you retire? It's going to be the same thing. So, start with what are the things that you do now, because just because you have more money, I doubt you will buy better or more expensive clothes. I just don't think that's your personality. I don't think any money in the world will make a difference on that. You will continue to be and do the things that you do now. It's just that the ideology around this is what we're supposed to do now, that changes. But if we're true to our discretions and to our important things,
yes, if we know what we really love and we actually customize our spending around making sure we can have that, and accepting that we can't have everything, and not feeling anxious over that, like being
There's
at
no
peace
lack,
with the fact that we were talking about this earlier too. So would you rather make $300,000 a year and be able to spend on whatever you want, and continually spending whatever you want, and be feeling unfulfilled because you don't really get any fulfillment out of anything that you buy or do, and just feel like you're constantly on a hamster wheel? Or would you rather be that person who makes 50 grand a year, but you know exactly what you love to spend your money on, and you rein in your spending on everything else so that you can have that, and you feel fulfilled all the time because you know who you are, and you know what you want, and you're getting it for yourself on a $50,000 a year income versus
Sorry, I have to jump in because there's a story in here that you wrote around it, the fisherman I think that is exactly.
I didn't actually write that.
You made your own story.
Yeah, I made
the
woman's version of the fisherman's story.
But the way the fisherman's story goes is that the businessman is going on vacation and he meets this fisherman who brings in his 5 fish every day, and the businessman, being the businessman, I can relate to that. You could make more money if you did this, this, and this, and this. And I'm very shortcutting this right now, but the gist of the story is that the fisherman says, why would I want to do that when I can just bring home my 5 fish and spend the rest of the time with my family?
Exactly.
Right? So I love that. You need to read that in the 39 Keys to Money Success. She has it outlined in there in a very cool way.
Thank you. Yeah, I love that story too. And it's so interesting how we're all chasing freedom, but if you can find a way to achieve that freedom on any income, which, I mean, there are certain situations where people just need to make more money, like absolutely. But there are definitely people out there who are trying to make more money when they're not doing a good job with the money they have, and they just don't have a good relationship with money in general. And if you are feeling like having a good relationship with money is something you are challenged with, watch episode 3, which actually Yvonne was in that one as well. She was kind of the star of the show. And we actually had a horse named Ringo, help us work through some of those money relationship issues, which was very interesting.
It was.
So check that out for sure. What else do we want to say? One thing I wanted you to touch on a little bit was sort of how you have managed to pull yourself out of that mentality that you were raised with in the culture in East Germany, with sort of almost a wanting more money is bad mentality, to a ability and passion for not only earning more income for yourself, but helping others do that when it comes to helping others who don't have any money, right? Like when it comes to charitable donations or reaching out and helping people, being able to donate money to people in Texas right now who are affected by Hurricane Harvey. Like, how did you work through that?
One of many things I've done is I took a financial freedom weekend course.
What? No.
And in that, the facilitator said something that really, really resonated with me, and that was, having money is not a bad thing, because when you actually have money, you can also give money in a different way. Or you can give, not just money, but you can give in a different way. And as soon as that was what I needed personally to hear in order to rectify my belief system around money's bad, or people that have money is bad, with people that have money can also give back in a very different way. Like, even if, let's just throw out some names. Like Oprah Winfrey, she makes a shitload of money. Can I say shitload?
You just did, so apparently you can.
Right? We all know she's among one of the wealthiest people
Oprah,
in the world.
If you're watching this.
And we love you. And if you consider how much and how she's been given back, I can't do that because I don't have that kind of money. So, when you have money as well, you can give back in a different way. And that doesn't necessarily just have to mean financially or in a monetary way. If you have money and you have the freedom of time, now you can give your time in a different way. Now you can spend time maybe volunteering, or going to a different country and building houses for people there. It's just a matter of repatterning that thought around money. Now, like I said, I think we've all heard some form or another of money is bad, and I personally believe that there was always a justification to explain the situation that the person who said that belief to you needed. So make up your own mind around it, but in order to get more money in your life, in order to experience abundance, you also have to change your mindset around it. And that mindset needs to start with, it's okay, it's good, because I can do good things with it as well. Whether that is giving money in a philanthropic way, like you're talking about often in most of your work, or whether it is in time freedom.
Definitely. Well, thank you for sharing all of that very personal journey type stuff that you've shared with us today. And I knew that you would, because you are such an open, honest person. Whenever you spend time with Yvonne, she's present. She's 100% in the moment. She's 100% laser focused on what's going on, and that's why she's such a successful life coach as well. So Yvonne, thank you so much for being here today. And I guess your podcast listeners are listening to this as well. So I want to say a shout out to all of them, and how just to congratulate them on being, super smart people, because they're part of your group. So
that's right.
They're
Freedom
very
Seekers, that's you guys.
Beings.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's great. And I also wanted to quickly mention that starting on September 16th in Cochrane, I am presenting a 4-part series workshop for moms. It's called the Money Success for Moms Workshop. It's happening every Saturday at the Cochrane Library from 1 until 2. If you have children, it's going to be excellent for you. Well, obviously you have children, you're a mom, you're coming to this. But if you have little kids that you can't leave at home in front of the TV, you bring them and they can hang out in the library, and there's going to be Lego stuff and crafts and all sorts of stuff going on. So they will be fine. You will be able to focus on your relationship with money, and we will talk about everything from earning to saving to investing in that 4 weeks, 1 hour each Saturday. And who doesn't have an hour a week, right?
And such a great investment in yourself
and
and
it
your
doesn't even
family.
cost you anything monetarily, because other than the gas to drive yourself to the library if you live in Cochrane.
That's fantastic.
And that material, that's kind of my first time ever sort of putting that material out to the public. And so stay tuned. If you're not in Cochrane or Calgary and you can't come out to that, the material will be available in the form of an online course very soon. And it's also available to companies who want to maybe bring me in and have me present this kind of stuff to their employees.
And if you can't go anywhere, just start with this.
This is always available to you, no matter where you are. Thank you for tuning in, everyone. Thank you to my lovely clients for tuning in. Mwah! And all of your awesome comments that you posted in here today. And we will see you for episode 5 in October 2017.
Wow. Yay. Awesome. Thank you, guys.
Bye.
Bye. And it's a wrap.
How do I... It didn't record.
End meeting in the corner there. Well, we have everything in audio, I would imagine. Oh no, it didn't record anything.
No, but that would have recorded. It wouldn't record great sound, but that's okay. I thought you said you clicked record on it.
I clicked record on there.
Oh, see, I thought you said this. That's okay. That's okay. You have it on there.
I do.
Friggin' hope.
I do have it on there, and
it's just the audio.
The audio is going to be terrible on this.
It might be okay. You'd be surprised.